I was reading a book by John Maxwell, a renowned leadership guru, and he said that the biggest mistake we make in living in constant fear is that we'll make one, that we'll make a mistake. That's the biggest mistake we'll make in living in constant fear is that we'll make a mistake. So we can't be living in constant fear. Uh, there's no doubt that fear is not only the driver of many of our decisions, but it's also the major limiting factor for virtually all of our lives. Fear. And we fear messing up or we fear making mistakes because somehow being perfect all the time has been the mantra of our lives. That's associated with some type of societal approval if we're perfect all the time, even though we all know that nobody's perfect and we see imperfection all around us 24/7. So one way I've been thinking, to punch fear in the face and move past it on a daily basis and get us to where we should be and want to be is to ask ourselves out loud, or potentially a person you trust, your husband, your wife, what exactly is the worst thing that could happen if I do this thing and it doesn't work out? What is the worst thing if I go about accumulating health and it doesn't work out? Or I don't follow through on my health accumulation plan, all the way 100%. What is the worst thing that could happen? If I write down and commit to getting after my morning routine, like I write down and commit to getting up each morning 15 minutes earlier and going for a walk. Well, what is the worst thing that could possibly happen? I would suggest it would be that you kept sleeping, you kept laying in bed. That is the worst thing. And you're already doing that, right? You don't give up, you don't get up, and you remain in your current state. That is the worst thing, that you would remain in your current state. On the flip side, what if by writing that down, putting some pressure there, and you getting up 15 minutes earlier, going for a walk, what if you actually end up 3 days out of the week actually getting up and performing, walking or your fitness endeavor, and you create, unbeknownst to yourself, a little health momentum in your life? What if that happens? Wouldn't that be wild? You started out thinking, I got to do this every day, every day, every day. And instead of just giving up on yourself, you ended up doing it 3 days out of the week. Guess what? That ends up being 12 times out of the month, or 144 times in a year. So what is the worst thing that could happen? If you skip out on, say, wedding cake and have some carrots or apple slices from one of the other trays at the wedding, instead of because you've been trying to stay away from sugar, you've been trying to decrease added sugars, and you want to keep that going, you want to keep that routine going, and so instead of eating the cake, you eat some apple slices. What is the worst thing that could happen? Potentially the bride or groom may come up to you and say, yo, what is your deal? We have this cake. We're only getting married once, man. Have some cake. And, you say, well, no, thank you. I've been just, I'm kind of addicted to sugar, man. And so I've been staying away from this. And, maybe the bride's father comes up and scolds you for not celebrating properly by skipping the cake. But in your brain, in your being, that if you don't skip the cake, you're probably going to end up eating a whole lot more cake the next few days, the next few weeks. And so you for yourself, that is not something you can put in your body, put right before yourself, because it's going to lead down a roller coaster of undesirableness down the road. So what's the worst thing that can happen? They're not happy with you for a few hours or for a few minutes. But in the end, you accumulate massive amounts of health. Wouldn't that be a blessing? Human beings, we're really into ourselves. We really like ourselves. We think we're awesome. So feel free to remind your brain that nobody cares if I eat cake or not. Nobody's going to notice. Nobody is, our brain just plays these crazy tricks on us, thinking everybody is all about us all the time. Everybody's watching our every move. Everybody's, wondering about our weight, about our shoes, about our underwear. Everybody wants to know everything. When in reality, we are all so much about ourselves that nobody cares. Nobody cares. It's just a made up thing in our own minds. However, when you arrive home, having bypassed that cake, and you kept your streak alive, like 6 weeks, 7 weeks in a row now of no desserts or no added sugars kind of thing, the feeling, the dopamine response you're going to have of conquering those cravings and following through on your plan going into that wedding, of the choice you're going to make related to those desserts to keep your streak alive, it's going to be so worth it. It's going to be over the top. You're going to be so pleased with yourself, and that's going to create more momentum for your health accumulation. So fear, it has this way of creating this paralysis, this paralyzing facade in which we basically make no decisions. Fear just paralyzes us into, which I often say, perfection paralyzes us, which it does, because perfection is based off of fear. The idea that we have to be perfect is a fear mentality. So this paralysis that comes with fear, it just leads us to not making any decisions at all. So it is helpful to remind ourselves, or to remind fear, that we're not perfect. We're not trying to be perfect, and we know challenges will come, but we have a plan. We're not just flipping and going out there and just seeing what happens. We have a plan, and if we're going to experience because we want to experience the full brunt of health and vitality available to us, we're not going to be looking at perfection. We're going to be looking at accumulation over and over and over again. And that accumulation is so much easier for our beings to receive and work with than perfection, because perfection says, if I don't do it exactly right, then might as well not even do it. Accumulation says, if I just keep one day at a time, one meal at a time, one exercise routine at a time, one sleep habit at a time, I keep adding in these things, I keep doing this stuff, I'm going to get exactly where I want to go to, and I'm going to enjoy the whole journey, because it's not going to be all stressful. It's going to be doable. And challenges themselves, they allow us to grow, they allow us to mature. So don't back away from them. Health accumulation is going to be tough either way. But we're not going up against 500,000 men. It's one-on-one. It's me against you, as opposed to going me against an entire army, right? Because we're not saying, starting out, I'm only going to eat 0 sugar for the rest of my life. No, you're eating 0 sugar for this meal. That's what you're going to do, right? And that is so much easier to handle for our being. And it is imperative that we take on that thinking process, that philosophy. Otherwise, we're going to end up in the same place we've been at over and over again. And we're not going to grow, we're not going to mature, and we're going to be more and more and more self-defeated. So these are tough decisions. And you can expect that sometimes you might lose a battle. But if more times than not you win the battles, in the end, the war is going to be yours. And you're going to keep coming back. Health accumulation is going to keep rising in your being, and you're going to be shocked at how good, vital, invigorated you are. And because guess what? Health accumulators identify somebody who's fit, who's vital, who has energy, who has clarity of mind, who relates well to people, because we feel good about ourselves, because we know what? We're doing good stuff for ourselves on a regular basis. All right, like, share. Hope you guys have a most fantastic Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's. You'll see plenty more of me on here, but let's make it happen. We got to be thinking right now about what we're going to do to make sure this season doesn't just pass us by, but we accumulate health all through it. It's totally possible.